For more on that crash and other recent aviation incidents, I want to bring in my buddy, former Navy fighter pilot, Casey Talbot. Casey, thank you so much for joining us here on ABC News Live.
Yeah, it's great to see you on a Saturday.
Absolutely. Okay, let's get to the big question here. Should Americans be concerned about safety in the skies?
The data suggests that Americans shouldn't. So just to put things in perspective, from January 1st, 2010 until yesterday, the NTSB has investigated 8 commercial air carrier flights that have resulted in, sadly, fatalities. These are flights designated as Part 121, which to most would simply mean airliner or cargo operations. In fact, the tragedy in the Potomac, or over the Potomac at DC Reagan, was the first fatal operation of this type in the lower 48 since 2009. So consider that on average, US airlines total about 10 million flights per year, give or take. This puts us around 150 million flights since 2010. So to put things in perspective for the American people, that's 8 out of 150 million flights. Now, of course, these are reporting on aircraft with various capacities and passenger numbers, but it's absolutely accurate enough to say that the data demonstrates an exceptionally and almost overwhelming margin of safety.
And that's why we wanted to bring you on here, because I know that on social media you've been very vocal about this. And as a former Navy pilot, I wonder, what were you thinking when you saw an incident like the one just last week in Toronto?
So, I mean, even with some of these incidents, fatal or not, the Atlanta and Seattle ground collisions come to mind. We can again go back to the data to see that runway incursions and ground-based incidents are down. I operated every day for many years, and at some point in my life for the past 20 years in our national airspace system, and it remains the gold standard of the world in terms of procedures, in terms of standardization, in terms of operational efficiency, and in terms of a culture of safety, which is, again, the gold standard of the FAA and its subsidiaries, the NTSB and the air traffic control and air traffic controlling organizations.
And that's what's so fascinating about this particular industry is that, yes, you have different companies that are always competing, but when it comes to safety, they're learning from each other. And in this case, every time there's an incident, they say, okay, well, what can we learn from what happened there in Toronto? What can we learn from what happened in DC? And each time it makes it safer and safer. Casey, in your opinion, what needs to be done to make people feel safer in our skies?
Well, just communication, I think. I think public relations and communication from the FAA. I mean, for example, pilots are empowered, whether you're a military or a civilian pilot, whether you're a private pilot or a 20-year seasoned airline pilot, we're empowered to simply not fly if we see something unsafe. And airline policies and procedures ensuring the readiness of aircrew and aircraft add an extra layer to these safety measures. And air traffic controllers have much of the same empowerment to rapidly call out and sort out any compromise to safety that should ever occur. So I think what needs to happen is that the American people just need to understand that, sir, while there's been ATC or air traffic control staffing shortages, these initiatives are layered on year after year, administration after administration, and we continue this culture of safety that, in my personal opinion, is uncompromised today, and we would be really hard pressed to compromise in the future due to its culture. We just need steady, consistent funding and good planning. That's obviously on our congressional leaders in conjunction with the FAA to continue to improve our safety measures, our technology, and continue to empower pilots and aircrew to make the right decisions on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And what do you think about this call to modernize air traffic control systems?
Yeah, again, that just comes to continued steady, predictable funding to carry out several currently underway projects. There are constant projects looking to modernize FAA technology, modernize situational awareness, both for air traffic controllers and pilots. And for the FAA, I would just imagine that a nice, steady, predictable stream of funding would allow for the ability just to continue these projects so we get safer and safer every year. In addition to that, the NTSB needs to continue to be the gold standard of the world. I mean, since the 1960s or something like that, They've investigated 15,400 incidents, and with each of those, a new data point where pilots and aircrew learn and just get safer and safer. So.
All right. Well, Casey Talbot, thank you so much. Hopefully next time this interview is done in the air with you in the pilot seat. Thank you so much for joining us.
That'd be great. Thanks, Gio.
Thank you.